Hi there, I'm Rosie Shilo, and I'm very excited to meet you and talk to you about the virtual assistant industry. And your first question, which is, what is a virtual assistant? Now, before we get started, I want to give you a little bit of a journey about how I got started as a virtual assistant back in 2004. So way back then, I think I was 25 years old and I was working in middle management in the disability sector. So I was on the computers a lot, but I was doing a lot of hands-on work with the clients as well and trying to manage a team of workers and, being somewhere like that sandwich in the middle with management. And I loved it at first. It was great. But then it got to the point where there was just too much office politics. My manager went from being amazing to being very grumpy, and things just felt really yuck at work. And I wasn't being provided enough stimulus as well to challenge myself and get creative and learn new things. So I ended up having migraines at work. Whether I was at work or not, I had a lot of migraines and I started feeling very, very unwell and had to take some time off work. Because I had post traumatic stress disorder from some stuff that had happened prior, I had moved back in with my dad at that point. I was a boomerang child. And he was working from home. He'd been made redundant a few years earlier and had this opportunity to buy an existing business that allowed him to thrive. And it was doing something that he really, really loved. So I got to see what it was like for him to run that business from home and work from home for himself. And I really liked how that looked. It looked really great to me. And having similar personality types where we're fairly well self-driven and want to make things different and exciting, it just seemed like a really good option. And my dad actually identified that the skills that I was bringing home were really handy for him because I had a lot of administrative and computer based skills that he didn't have. And so, whenever he had trouble with the computer or emailing documents or downloading things, he would then go, help me. But he didn't want to hire any staff or anything. So he said, there's got to be other business owners out there who don't want staff, but need that support every now and then. So I jumped onto the dial up internet back then, did a little bit of research, and I found the virtual assistant industry. Now, the industry has changed a lot since then. Because of the advances in technology, there's so many more services that can be offered now. But even back then, people found a way. Some parts of service offerings were delivered by post or by car or whatever it might be. I remember hand delivering some transcription tapes to a virtual assistant one time for one of my clients, and then a couple of days later, picking them up along with all of the transcript. So, that sort of thing now you would send by audio file. But back then, that you wouldn't have been able to send the audio file. It just would have been too big. So, the virtual assistant industry, some of the things that remain consistent are that in Australia, a virtual assistant is working from their own office, wherever that might be. They're not on site for their client. They're working for multiple clients because they are a business owner. They're self employed and they need to do all of the legal stuff around running a business and making sure that they're able to put food on the table and pay their taxes and report their accounts and all those sorts of things. And then the other thing is that they are providing business support services. So it's business to business, and they're providing solutions to other businesses in whatever their area of specialty is. Now, that hasn't changed over the years. So, when I first started up, I started offering association management and allied health support because they were the areas that I had the most experience in. And I started to build my community straight away. I joined our local Chamber of Commerce. I joined our local Rotary group, which I had been planning on joining anyway, just as a volunteer. But it worked out that Rotary is full of business owners. And at that stage, I don't know if it's still the truth, but you needed to have a business to qualify to be within Rotary. So that worked out really well because I had the newest business in the world at that point, and it still allowed me to join. I attended lots of networking events, expos, conferences, all of the things. And they were all scary as all hell because I found business owners quite intimidating and I didn't know anybody. But then after a while, the more I went, the more I met people. So I found that after a while, whenever I was attending an event, even on my own, I would get there and there would be at least one other person that I knew, because the self-employed world is big, but it's not that big. So once you get past that first bit of not knowing anyone, and sometimes I would take somebody with me just to give me that little boost in confidence, after a while, you'll find that you just know people that are at these events. So it's just not as scary. You just got to get past that first bit. Anyway, so the different services, there was a lot of really high-end services even back then. But it's grown now. I've got an ebook that I'm going to send you, and it's called 123 Things You Can Outsource to a Virtual Assistant. And it doesn't even include all of the things. Since I created the list, more things have cropped up. So to say, one of the things that I've done during my journey is to start advocating for virtual assistants to be basically an industry term rather than a title or an offering. And that is because all of those things, the 123 plus things, all fall under virtual assistants. And so saying that you're a virtual assistant is quite similar to saying I'm a tradie. Gives us an idea of where you're at, but it doesn't tell us specifically what it is you do. And I definitely don't recommend that you try to do 123 different things. In fact, I recommend that you look at specializing in 1, 2, or maybe even 3 if you've got the capacity to, different services that you can offer your clients, but really get niche as much as you can so that you can become amazing at what it is that you do. The reason being is, 1, you want to be amazing at what you do, but 2, when you are narrowing down your services and you're really getting a clear idea of what you offer, you will also understand what problem you solve and who has that problem, and your marketing will be much easier. If you're offering all of the things, you're going to need to just be constantly learning all of the things. You're not going to understand the psychology or the importance behind each of the individual services. It's simply just too much. So the virtual assistant industry is, as I said, full of self-employed, amazing human beings. Offshore, I find that a lot of virtual assistants are part of an agency. There are plenty who are self-employed as well. But in Australia, that's actually very, very rare. Usually virtual assistants are independent contractors. So we're working from home. We've got our offices set up. We've got a computer. We've got printers. We've got internet access. These are the basic things that we need. We need to make sure that we know what service we're offering. We need to understand what it feels to be a business owner. And we need to grow our business professionally. And that is the virtual assistant industry here in Australia. And it really is thriving. It's growing still. It's grown amazingly since 2004, but every year it grows even more. And there will be a lot of people who come in who do amazing things, and there will be a lot who fail. And there's plenty of reasons for this. So one of the things that I do see a lot is that people jump into the virtual assistant industry because other people have said to them, you should be a VA, you've got these great skills, you could do this service for me, or you could do this for my friend. And they get in there and they work their butts off, and they find after a while that they're totally chained to their business, and they're doing all of this work for crappy money, working for people that they don't necessarily like, and offering services that they're not passionate about, and not really having a process or a solution in place that makes it so that they're leveraged and earning the money that they want to be earning. And so that can be really, really frustrating. Other people start off, they say, oh, I want to be a virtual assistant. And then they try to get out there, and then they see all of the different software programs and all of the different apps and the skills that the different virtual assistants have. And they either feel really intimidated and retreat, or they go in shell shock and they can't kind of launch because it is so overwhelming. Now, you might not be either of those, but those are the 2 main starts to virtual assistant journeys that I see. And so what I've noticed is that what's missing for those is that initial structural setup that includes the right ingredients to make sure that you know who you are, who you want to support, what problem you're solving, how you can get out there, and then of course how you can leverage your time and your effort. So next video, I want to talk to you about the 5 ingredients that make a stellar virtual assistant. And that's all a very formal way of saying these are the 5 things that I reckon you need to master, that you need to just make sure that you've, sorted out in your business so that things are easier and that you've got more control over where your business is taking you. So if you are interested in the virtual assistant industry and what I've described about it looks good to you, then I look forward to seeing you in the next session around the 5 ingredients that make a stellar virtual assistant. I'll see you then. Bye.